What is going on, 12s, and welcome back to another episode of the Always Compete Seahawks podcast. My name is Sam, and thank you for joining me today. Today, with the schedule officially being released on Thursday, I decided to, have some fun this week. We're in the dead period of the NFL season. Nothing's really going on. Things are super slow, no big news. So this schedule release is kind of the last piece of big NFL news that is on the docket. And with that coming out on Thursday, I decided to, hey, make a quick little mock schedule here where I will be, kind of assigning, obviously, a game for every week of the season, saying which game should be a primetime game. And, this is just going to be a fun little thought exercise here. I am not going to be necessarily projecting the season. That's not what I'm going to be saying. I will just simply kind of be looking at all of these, opponents that we have this year and deciding, all right, where will they go? What feels like it makes sense? And then breaking it down from there. So I think we should just get started here. I'll kind of speed through some of the games that don't really matter. This shouldn't be a super long podcast, but it should be fun just to imagine what the schedule might look like as we are waiting for Thursday to come. So, week one has been the topic of who are the Seahawks going to play. For a while, I thought that they were going to put the Giants on versus us. The Giants, we have them as a home opponent on our schedule. I thought it made a lot of sense given that the Giants are the biggest market and they are kind of seen as an up and coming team. They just hired John Harbaugh. Obviously, it's this new era for the team. I really thought that that would make sense. However, I made the schedule yesterday. I didn't put the Giants on in week one, and thankfully for that, because the Giants and the Cowboys are playing week one on Sunday Night Football. So it was announced today. So with that being said, I went to the other one that I kind of had a sneaking suspicion about. It feels like this is the rumored matchup. So my pick for week one will be the Chicago Bears coming to town on NBC on Wednesday. Now, in a dream world, I probably would have put the Rams in this scenario. The Rams and the Seahawks are the two Super Bowl favorites. They had two of the best games played in the entire NFL last season. And I thought that really the NFL should work to continue that rivalry and continue to build off that. It was so fun last year, and the games were electric. And you have like Sean McVay and Mike McDonald, this offensive yin to Mike McDonald's yang, and it's like you're having this kind of battle of minds, and the games were just so good. I thought that would have been the wise thing to do. Instead, the NFL says, no, we're going to have them play the 49ers in Australia, which somewhat makes sense. It's still a primetime game. That's going to be the Thursday night game. So it's okay. But ideally, I think I would have put the Rams. But the Bears are a good opponent. The NFC 2 seed last year. So, you have the Rams as the 5, even though they kind of feel like the NFC's real 2 seed. But, Seahawks and Bears were the 1 and 2 last year. The Bears are this upcoming roster, this young team. Caleb Williams, Ben Johnson, they feel young, they feel exciting. Once again, one of the NFL's biggest markets. The NFL wants to put a game on that's the first game of the season that people will watch, that has star power, that at least figures to be entertaining. They're not going to give us the Cardinals or the what other games here? The Panthers, the Raiders. They're not going to give us those games on the opening night of the season. The Seahawks and Bears figures to be a pretty entertaining game. I think they really want to push, Caleb Williams, Ben Johnson, the Bears being this upcoming team that's ready to surge. And I think them playing the Seahawks week one makes a lot of sense. I think that's probably where it's going to go. If not, I mean, I genuinely don't like they could try to throw the Patriots or 49. No, not even the 49ers. They're playing the Rams. They could try to throw the Patriots on. That's the only team that makes sense to me as far as home opponents that are available. I don't think they're going to go with the Chiefs, mostly because of that risk that if Mahomes doesn't play, like that game is going to stink. Like Garrett Nussmeier or whoever out there for the Chiefs. So, really, with that being said, I think the Bears feel like the team that's going to be on the opening night of the season. Wednesday night should be a fun game. Week two, I figured coming off of week one, you have this tough game against the Bears. This is me making kind of an ideal schedule for the Seahawks. This is not me necessarily saying, well, what will the NFL do? This is kind of me making an ideal schedule for the Seahawks while trying to imagine maybe why the NFL would do it rather than will the NFL do it. Week 2 at the Las Vegas Raiders. Now, the Raiders are on the schedule. This feels like the game where you have this tough matchup against the Bears. It's been hyped up and you're ready to play and it happens. Hopefully you win. And then you're coming in to the next week and then you're able to play a Raiders team that doesn't figure to be that good. This would be the Mike McDonald versus Clint Kubiak game. And, I think the Raiders are a team that the NFL, I think, vaguely wants to push with Mendoza on that team now. That being said, by week 2, I don't know if Mendoza is necessarily starting. But, I think regardless, the NFL wants to push the Raiders, having them play the reigning Super Bowl champions very early in the season, I think would be a thing that the NFL would probably not mind doing. And for the Seahawks, I mean, you're coming off that Bears game. It's brutal, it's tough, it's hyped up, it's on prime time, things are going. Hopefully you win, and then you're coming off, and then you have this kind of mini bye where, I mean, no team has played on Wednesday really on a natural schedule. I remember during the COVID year, there was like a Tuesday game at one point because of the, some players had to miss, and then the whole teams had to quarantine before they could play a game. I remember that, but I don't really know if it's ever been done on a natural schedule. So you have this mini bye, and you're able to go play the Raiders, and figuring not to be a very good team. I think that's a dream scenario for the Seahawks. And then in week 3, you're coming back home to take on the Dallas Cowboys on Sunday at 4:25. The Seahawks and Cowboys would be really, I think, a marquee matchup, mostly because the Seahawks have this great defense. The Cowboys have this rocket power offense. I think this would be a great game. This could be a primetime game. I wouldn't be shocked. The NFL loves putting Dallas on primetime, mostly because people watch when Dallas is on primetime. They're an entertaining team. They are one of the most recognizable teams. They have big stars. I think that the NFL will put the Cowboys on in primetime a lot. I ultimately decided to not put this game on primetime, mostly because for me, I think that there are better games that the Seahawks could play on primetime. So for me in general, I just think that, I would probably not like to put the Cowboys on prime time against us. I think that there are better games. And if I'm making a dream schedule, I definitely wouldn't want to see the Seahawks probably beat the Cowboys on prime time. So Sunday, 4:25, week 3 for the Dallas Cowboys. This next one is going to be a fun one. This has been heavily rumored as well. The Seahawks traveling to London to take on the Commanders. Now, the Commanders are hosting in a London game this year. The Seahawks have not played in London. I think at this point it's going to be like 8 years. I think the last time they played was 2018, so a really long time ago. I think they have one of the longest streaks of not playing in London in like a long time, or in the league that's currently active. So the Seahawks, the Commanders are hosting a game. The Seahawks are playing the Commanders away. Um, I think that would be a perfect situation. I mean, I know a lot of people on the West Coast. I'm an East Coaster, so I kind of like waking up at 9:30 and just going down and immediately watching football. If the Seahawks were on, that would be great, just because I'm a very stressful Seahawks fan. So get it out of the way, and let me watch football for the rest of the day. I think I want to see the Seahawks play an international game this year. I think the NFL is going to put the Seahawks on a lot. They have stars, Jackson Smith and Jigba for one, and then they're the reigning Super Bowl champions. Even if they don't have big stars, they're going to be playing in a lot of really, really good games. So I think that's the mindset of the NFL. Week 5 here, this is one of the marquee ones that I think people are going to be looking forward to. Coming back home from London, at home, Sunday Night Football, taking on the Los Angeles Rams. You need to get a guaranteed primetime game. I think Sunday Night Football for me has always felt like the marquee matchup of the week, because I think the way it works is every team is guaranteed a Thursday, or at least is likely to get a Thursday and a Monday, at least at some point during the season. You're not necessarily guaranteed to get a Sunday. The Sunday always feels like the biggest game of the week, especially when you have two playoff teams. The Seahawks and the Rams, like looking at this early stretch for the Seahawks, you might be able to be 4-0 going in to play the Rams at home on Sunday Night Football. That would be an unbelievable matchup. If the NFL doesn't put these games on in prime time, I think they're fools. I think they haven't learned. I think, like I said, they should have put the Seahawks and Rams week one. It's the marquee matchup. It's the game that everybody wants to watch. I think if you can't get that week one, you at least want them on Sunday night. It's the marquee game that everybody tunes in to watch. You watch a whole slate of games during the day. You come on for Sunday night football, and there are Seahawks Rams. Come on, you're telling me that's not going to be cinema. So that would be my dream week five matchup. Week six, staying at home, and you're playing the other LA team. You're taking on the LA Chargers at 4:05. The Chargers, I mean, they are outside of the Bears and Patriots, they're probably the best like week one game the Seahawks could get as far as like quality of team. But the Chargers, I don't know how big of like are they really that marketable? You know, you got Justin Herbert, who he might be elite, but he might just be very good. It's kind of difficult to call him a young quarterback at this point. He's been in the league for a while. It's not like he's some young guy who's still ascending. Um, so yeah, I mean, I don't think this doesn't feel like a primetime game to me. It doesn't feel like the Chargers are one of the true contenders in the AFC. It doesn't feel like the Chargers are one of the, dominant teams, one of the super fun teams that the NFL is going to want to put on. That being said, they're going to be good. I just don't think this feels like a primetime game, hence why I put out 4:05 on Sunday. By the way, all of these times are Eastern. So sorry for my West Coast Seahawks fans, which is a majority of Seahawks fans, but all these times are Eastern time. So yeah. Week seven, you're going to have, coming off a couple home games in a row. Now you're going to have a couple of away games in a row. At Panthers, Sunday, 1 p.m. Honestly, I think I'm going to make a quick audible here. Rather than, okay, so we're going to flip these next two games. So week seven, instead, I will have at 49ers on Thursday Night Football. So you're playing the Rams and the 49ers in a three-game stretch, basically, on prime time. They typically like to do the rivalry games for Thursday night. I feel like every time the Seahawks are on Thursday night, they're always playing the Rams, the Cardinals, or the Niners. So that's kind of what I did here. I think they like to put those division rivalries on, which is why, you know, I don't think they're going to put the Rams for Sunday and Thursday. I think that maybe feels a little weird. So, which is why I have the 49ers here. Still a great rivalry. I think, these teams matched up last year. I think the concern for the NFL is, well, when the Seahawks played the 49ers, it like wasn't close. So, that's the concern there for the NFL if you're trying to put on a great game. But that being said, the Niners figure to be a good team. They figure to be a good team, and it is a division rivalry. Honestly, at this point in time, I would say as of today, the Seahawks and Rams feels like the marquee rivalry. Maybe that's a shift in the NFC West, but I think, these fan bases still hate each other. These teams still hate each other. I think it makes a lot of sense to put this game on Thursday. And then in week 8 at Panthers, Sunday, 1 p.m. So I flip those because I don't like the idea of playing away on Sunday and then having to play away on Thursday, which is why I think if you flip the Niners thing, so you're home versus the Chargers, then you go at 49ers for Thursday night, and then you come back home. You have that mini bye where you have Thursday to Sunday, and then you fly back out to play the Panthers at 1 p.m. Eastern. I think that makes a lot of sense. And then after that, week 9, you have the bye. I think the week 9 bye is perfect. It's right in the middle. It's not too early, not too late. I think you'd rather have a too late bye than a too early bye. But that being said, I mean, either way, it's not very good. So putting it right smack dab in the middle of the season, kind of splitting the season in half in a way, I think makes the most sense for what you would be looking for, which is why, since I'm building a dream Seahawks schedule, I put the bye right in the middle. And then coming out of the bye, a nice, easy game that you don't really have to think much about. Home versus the Cardinals, 4:05 Eastern on Sunday. This is they're going to have to put the Cardinals game somewhere. And for me, it feels great because you can kind of use the Cardinals games as a buffer. Like if the Cardinals are on the schedule, you just played a tough stretch of 3 games. Throw the Cardinals after that. Oh, wow. Oh, well, you're coming off bye. Maybe you don't want to get caught off your bye week. Throw the Cardinals on. You always kind of have the Cardinals to go back on. So coming out of the bye, having a game where, okay, so you just you went through that tough stretch. Rams, Chargers, Panthers, Niners, all uh playoff teams last year, and then the Niners on Thursday night. Um, or the Panthers Sunday 1 p.m. You have back-to-back away games, and then you're coming home. You're a little fatigued. You get that week off to reset, and then you have another week where you're like, "Oh man, who are we playing? Oh, we got the Cardinals this week. Great." So that's kind of my mindset there. Week 11, this is going to be one of the marquee matchups of the season, at least on paper, in my opinion. At the Denver Broncos, I had this as the Monday night football game. This is kind of harkening back to the Russell Wilson return to Seattle game that the Seahawks won in dramatic fashion on Monday night. I think that's kind of my mindset here. These are the two one seeds from last year. These are like two elite teams, elite defense. This is probably going to be a primetime game. If it's not, I'd be pretty surprised. So that being said, I think that if you can, you want to get Broncos on one of these big stages. I think if it's not Sunday night, it's Monday night. Monday night is like the second biggest marquee kind of game, putting the two one seeds from last year, dynamic defenses, should be really fun. I think that makes a ton of sense for week 11 in prime time. Week 12, home versus the Giants, 425. And then week 13, I have, home versus the Patriots. And then I have this as a Sunday night football game. This feels like another game that they're going to want to put on primetime. Super Bowl rematch. Drake May is still one of those young stars who I think the NFL really wants to market. They really like to market the Patriots. Even when the Patriots were bad, they were at least getting on primetime still. And, I think in general, I think the NFL is probably going to put this game on primetime. Sunday night football late in the season when the football's getting really good, I think makes a ton of sense. This is the other most likely week one matchup, even though I don't think the NFL would want to put the Super Bowl rematch right after. They've had opportunities to do that before, and the only time I can remember them doing it is Panthers Broncos in 2016. They had that as the first game. I don't think they're going to do that again. So which is why I'm having the Patriots down here still in prime time. And then once again, you're coming off of, tough stretch where you have the Broncos, Giants, and Patriots. Broncos and Patriots are two really good playoff teams from last year. The Giants might be respectable this year. You have the Cardinals again at Cardinals 425 on Sunday. Just a nice, easy game, just to kind of, clean the palate because let me tell you, these last four games, this is kind of a gauntlet here for the Seahawks to end the season. So getting the Cardinals out of the way, getting that kind of, okay, maybe we don't have to research as much this week. Maybe we can just kind of, play a nice light game before we get into this because week 15 to 18 is a doozy. Week 15, the Seahawks home versus the 49ers on 425 on Sunday. That would not, would yet again, these are probably going to be two playoff teams, two teams that don't like each other. I think for both the Niners and the Rams, they're going to put at least one game in for each in the last 5 weeks of the season because that's when the stakes are really high. You one win can flip the division standings, that type of stuff. I think that makes a ton of sense. Week 16, visiting the Philadelphia Eagles for a 1 p.m. game. So, the way I'm setting it up now, the Seahawks will only have, maybe depending on another one of these games, which will be to be determined for the time, which is just how the NFL schedules it. Only two 1 p.m. Eastern kickoffs this year, but the Eagles, you're playing away. This could be another primetime game, but that being said, with the Bears, Rams, Niners, Broncos, Patriots, that's five. Five is a lot. I think the most I've ever seen is seven. I don't think they're going to put the Seahawks on seven primetime games. I think five feels right. So, and you also, there are weeks where you have great games that are in the 1 p.m. Window or the 425 window. So I think with that being said, putting the Eagles on at 1 p.m. makes a lot of sense. That figures to be a good game. That game could have some implications for kind of NFC standings, NFC seeding, all that type of stuff. And then the last 2 weeks, like I said, these times are TBD. The NFL leaves these games to be determined because depending on what games are important, it allows them to make the schedules during the league year and flex games in and out depending on what's important. So for week 17, I have the Seahawks home against the Kansas City Chiefs. I think, if you want me to be honest, we're going to see a trend on Thursday where the NFL is going to put all of the hard games backloaded for the Chiefs. I don't think they're going to put a lot of the really good games up front because if Mahomes doesn't play, those games just won't be generating the money that they want to see. So putting the Chiefs week 17, who knows, if the Chiefs are going to be a playoff team, maybe they're really good. Maybe, who knows, they might be the one seed in the AFC. They're the Chiefs. Wouldn't shock me. You can have that game. Maybe the Seahawks are the one seed, and then that's a huge game. And then you can flex that onto Sunday night or Thursday night or whatever it may be, um, depending on how good the Chiefs are and how good Mahomes has looked. And then in week 18, I don't know if you guys could see it coming here. The Rams are going to be the last game of the season, TBD. Um, I think this is a perfect scenario because the NFL loves to put really, really good games at the end of the year, especially games that figure to have division implications, playoff implications, uh, NFC seeding implications, all that type of stuff they like to put late in the year. So you will see mostly division matchups at the end of the year. I think the last few years it's been the Rams and the Niners. So why not put the Rams on again? Who knows? This game could be for the one seed in the NFC, could be for the NFC West title, could be for a lot of really, really important things. Put this on as the last game of the year, and all of a sudden you're talking about, hey, maybe this game gets flexed on to Sunday night as the last game of the season for the NFC one seed between the two potential best teams in the league. That sounds like a really fun thing. And I think rounding it out with the Rams leading into the playoffs feels like it's really setting up for some high drama, high quality football. And I think it just makes too much sense. So, you know, maybe not a super important topic to discuss, but this was a fun thing for me to kind of plot out. Hey, what games make sense? Ooh, what game could be a primetime game? If I had to say like what games would be the most fun, like Rams on Sunday night, obviously the opening night versus the Bears. I really like the Broncos Monday night and Patriots Sunday night, like those primetime games versus teams that you maybe don't have a rivalry with, but they're just really, really good football teams are always kind of fun for me. Whenever you don't have necessarily a rivalry with a team, the stakes feel a little lower, even if the team is just as good. Maybe that's why I like it more. But regardless, I think this is a fun schedule, and I guess we'll just have to wait till Thursday to see what happens. So, with that being said, I hope you guys enjoyed. Comment any notes, any thoughts that you may have had in the comments below. By the way, guys, if you ever have an idea or something that you wish for me to cover, absolutely let me know. I take suggestions, I respond to all comments. So, if you have any thoughts, any ideas, let me know in the comments below. If you enjoyed this video, please leave a like, subscribe, ring that bell. I will have more content coming for you guys very, very soon. But with that being said, I will see you guys next time. Peace out.